Welcome to Research Hub. As you approach the end of a research paper, the conclusion serves as the impressive finale of a fireworks display, providing an opportunity to make a lasting impact. This video will outline the steps to assist you in crafting a compelling conclusion for your research paper. One that not only summarizes your key points but also brings everything together. Think of it as the moment to answer, so what? Why should people be interested in your research? Our team of experienced essay writers will lead you through the process of creating a conclusion that is solid, articulate, and memorable for your audience even after they have finished reading your paper. Let's begin and ensure that your research concludes on a high note. So, first, what is a conclusion in a research paper? In a research paper, the conclusion is the final section where you summarize the main points and findings of your study. It is an opportunity to tie everything together and emphasize the significance of your research rather than simply repeating what has already been stated. A well-crafted conclusion often discusses the implications of your findings, suggests potential areas for further research, and leaves the reader with a lasting impression of the importance and relevance of your work in the broader context of the field. Essentially, it is your final chance to make a strong impact and ensure that your readers have a clear understanding of the significance of your research. Here's a research paper conclusion example. The structured framework in this research paper conclusion outline ensures that your conclusion effectively recaps the essential elements of your research paper and makes a memorable impact on your readers. 1. Restate the thesis statement. Briefly restate the main thesis or research question. Emphasize the core objective or purpose of the study. 2. Summarize key findings. Recap the main points and key findings from each section of the paper. Provide a concise overview of the research journey. 3. Discuss implications. Explore the broader implications of the research findings. Discuss how the results contribute to the existing body of knowledge in the field. 4. Address limitations. Acknowledge any limitations or constraints encountered during the research process. Explain how these limitations may impact the interpretation of the findings. 5. Suggest areas for future research. Propose potential directions for future studies related to the topic. Identify gaps in the current research that warrant further exploration. 6. Reaffirm significance. Reaffirm the importance and relevance of the research in the broader context. Highlight the practical applications or real-world implications of the study. 7. Concluding statement. Craft a strong, memorable closing statement that leaves a lasting impression. Sum up the overall impact of the research and its potential contribution to the field. Here are key considerations regarding a conclusion for research paper to not only recap the primary ideas in your work but also delve deeper to earn a higher grade. 1. Provide a concise recap of your main research outcomes. 2. Remind readers of your research goals and their accomplishments. 3. Stick to summarizing existing content, refrain from adding new details. 4. Emphasize why your research matters and its broader implications. 5. Clearly explain the practical or theoretical impact of your findings. 6. Prompt readers to reflect on how your research influences their perspective. 7. Briefly discuss the robustness of your research methods. 8. End with a suggestion for future research or a practical application. 9. Transparently address any constraints or biases in your study. 10. End on a powerful note, leaving a memorable impression on your readers. As you write your conclusion of research paper, there's a list of things professional writers don't recommend doing. Consider these issues carefully. 1. Repetition of exact phrases. Repetitively using the same phrases or sentences from the main body. Repetition can make your conclusion seem redundant and less engaging. 2. Overly lengthy summaries. Providing excessively detailed summaries of each section of your paper. Readers may lose interest if the conclusion becomes too long and detailed. 3. Unclear connection to the introduction. Failing to connect the conclusion back to the introduction. A lack of continuity may make the paper feel disjointed. 4. Adding new arguments or ideas. Introducing new arguments or ideas that were not addressed in the body. This can confuse the reader and disrupt the coherence of your paper. 5. Overuse of complex jargon. Using excessively complex or technical language without clarification. Clear communication is essential in the conclusion, ensuring broad understanding. 6. Apologizing or undermining confidence. Apologizing for limitations or expressing doubt about your work. Maintain a confident tone. If limitations exist, present them objectively without undermining your research. 7. Sweeping generalizations. Making overly broad or unsupported generalizations. Such statements can weaken the credibility of your conclusion. 8. Neglecting the significance. Failing to emphasize the broader significance of your research. Readers need to understand why your findings matter in a larger context. 9. Abrupt endings. Concluding abruptly without a strong closing statement. A powerful ending leaves a lasting impression. Avoid a sudden or weak conclusion. Discover distinctive stylistic insights that you can apply when writing a conclusion for a research paper. 1. Rhetorical questions. When using rhetorical questions, strategically place them to engage readers' minds. 2. Powerful language. Incorporate strong language to convey a sense of conviction and importance. Choose words that resonate with the overall tone of your research and amplify the significance of your conclusions. This adds weight to your key messages. 3. Repetitions. Repetitions can be employed to reinforce essential ideas. Reiterate key phrases or concepts in a way that emphasizes their importance without sounding redundant. This technique serves to drive home your main points. 4. Anecdotes. Integrating anecdotes into your conclusion can provide a human touch. Share a brief and relevant story that connects with your research, making the information more relatable and memorable for your audience. 5. Vivid imagery. Lastly, use vivid imagery to paint a picture in the minds of your readers. Appeal to their senses by describing scenarios or outcomes related to your research. This creates a more immersive and lasting impression. Knowing how to write a conclusion for a research paper that is logically appealing is important for leaving a lasting impression on your readers. Here are some tips to achieve this. 1. Logical sequencing. Present your conclusion in a structured manner, following the natural flow of your paper. Readers should effortlessly follow your thought process, making your conclusion more accessible and persuasive. 2. Reinforce main arguments. Emphasize the core arguments and findings from your research. By reinforcing key points, you solidify your stance and provide a logical culmination to your paper. 3. Address counterarguments. Acknowledge and address potential counterarguments or limitations in your research. Demonstrate intellectual honesty and strengthen your conclusion by preemptively addressing potential doubts. 4. Connect with introduction. Revisit themes or concepts introduced in your introduction to create a cohesive narrative, allowing readers to trace the logical progression of your research from start to finish. 5. Propose actionable insights. Suggest practical applications or recommendations based on your findings. This will add a forward-looking dimension, making your conclusion more relevant and compelling. 6. Highlight significance. Clearly articulate the broader implications of your research to convey the importance of your work and its potential impact on the field, making your conclusion logically compelling. Depending on your research topic and the style of your paper, you may choose to write your conclusion according to specific types. There are 3 main types of conclusions. 1. Summarizing conclusion. A summarizing conclusion is typically used for giving a clear summary of the main points of your topic and thesis. This is considered the most common form of conclusion, though some research papers may require a different style of conclusion. 2. Externalizing conclusion. An externalizing conclusion presents points or ideas that may not have been directly stated or relevant to the way you presented your research and thesis. However, these types of conclusions can be effective because they present new ideas that build off of the topic you initially presented in your research. 3. Editorial conclusion. In an editorial conclusion, you are presenting your own concluding ideas or commentary. This type of conclusion connects your thoughts to the research you present. You might state how you feel about outcomes, results, or the topic in general. An effective conclusion for a research paper reminds your readers of the strength and impact of your argument. Concluding statements can also help to refocus the reader's attention on the most important points and supporting evidence of your arguments or position that you presented in your research. Conclusions can also serve as a basis for continuing research, creating new ideas to resolve an issue you highlighted in your paper or offering new approaches to a topic. An effective research paper conclusion. 1. Stresses the importance of your thesis statement. 2. Gives the research paper a sense of completeness. 3. Leaves a final impression on the reader. When writing your conclusion, you can consider the steps. 1. Restate your research topic. Your first step when writing your conclusion should be to restate your research topic. Typically, one sentence can be enough to restate the topic clearly, and you will want to explain why your topic is important. This part of your conclusion should be clear and concise and state only the most important information. 2. Restate the thesis. Next, restate the thesis of your research paper. You can do this by revising the original thesis that you presented in the introduction of your paper. The thesis statement in your conclusion should be worded differently than what you wrote in your introduction. This element can also be effectively written in one sentence. 3. Summarize the main points of your research. Next, you can sum up the main points of your research paper. It's helpful to read through your paper a second time to pick out only the most relevant facts and arguments. You shouldn't need to include any more information than the main arguments or facts that you presented in your paper. The purpose of summarizing the key points is to remind the reader of the importance of the research topic. 4. Connect the significance or results of the main points. After discussing the main points of your argument, you can present the significance of these points. For instance, after stating the main points you made in your argument, you might discuss how the impacts of your topic affect a specific outcome. Likewise, you might present the results of studies or other findings that can help add emphasis to how you present the significance of your information. 5. Conclude your thoughts. As you finish up your conclusion, you might create a call to action or pose an idea that gets your readers thinking further about your argument. You might also use this sentence to address any questions that were left unanswered in the body paragraphs of your paper. Here are some helpful tips to keep in mind when you write your research paper conclusion. 1. Keep your thesis, main points, and summarizing facts clear and concise. 2. If you get overwhelmed, try sticking to a basic summarizing format for your conclusion. 3. Synthesize your information by providing questions and answers, results, suggestions, or a resolution to your arguments. 4. Include only the most relevant points and arguments you presented in your paper. Don't forget like, share and subscribe my channel.